Welcome back to The Explainer. Today we're unpacking a deceptively simple fable that hides a massive lesson in psychology and self-perception, the story of Mochi the brave rabbit. Okay, let's dive right into this.
Can a perceived physical weakness actually be your greatest strength? I want you to keep that specific question in the back of your mind as we go through today's explainer. So often we look at a limitation, something about ourselves that just doesn't measure up to the norm, and we automatically file it away under disadvantage. But as our case study today is going to show, the very thing you think is holding you back might literally be the exact key required to unlock a seemingly impossible situation.
Section 1. Meet Mochi the rabbit.
So our story kicks off in a quiet little village near a green forest. And right away, there's a huge contrast. We've got Mochi, who is noticeably smaller than all the other rabbits. Then you have the rest of his village, your standard, normal-sized, much bigger animals. It's a classic David and Goliath setup, right? But the giant Mochi is facing isn't some scary monster. It's literally just the everyday reality of living in a world built for animals much larger than him.
And this brilliantly illustrates the core conflict of our case study. Because of his size, Mochi was absolutely convinced he could never do anything brave. He took his physical stature and internalized it as a massive character flaw. He basically equated being small with being weak, and therefore totally incapable of courage. It's a heavy, limiting belief, and it completely dictates his self-worth when we first meet him.
Section 2. The Broken Bridge Crisis.
Well, a quiet village doesn't stay quiet forever. Let's walk through how this crisis unfolds on a totally normal, sunny morning. First up, morning hits, and the community wakes up to a major infrastructure failure. Their old wooden bridge over the river, completely broken. By midday, the panic sets in, because access to the berry field is totally cut off. No bridge means no food. Then afternoon rolls around. The big animals, the ones everyone usually relies on for the heavy lifting, they step up. But they try, and they absolutely fail to fix it.
So, why did they fail? Let's look at the actual mechanical failure here. The wood wasn't just broken. It was completely stuck, wedged super tightly between these really narrow rocks. And suddenly, the very thing the larger animals relied on, their massive size and muscle, became a huge disadvantage. Literally, nobody could fit through the gap to dislodge the wood. Their usual tools for solving problems were completely useless against this specific logistical nightmare.
Section 3. A small hero steps up.
So, the big animals are stumped, tensions are high, and out of nowhere, our protagonist quietly hops forward and says, "I think I can help." Now, what's really interesting here is the reaction. The other animals were totally shocked. Think back to our baseline. This is the rabbit who is smaller than everyone else, the guy who wholeheartedly believed he could never be brave. For him to volunteer during a massive community failure, that is a total subversion of everyone's expectations, including his own. Let's break down exactly what happens next, because it basically unfolds like a highly tactical rescue mission. Step 1. Mochi squeezed right through that tiny gap. The big guys couldn't even get close, but Mochi's small size made it a total breeze. Step 2. Now that he's on the other side, he pushed the jammed wood free. Step 3. He carried a strong vine back across the river. Notice what he did there? He didn't just clear the jam, he actively laid the groundwork to rebuild. His small size wasn't a liability. It was the exact, unique tool needed for the job. Let's see how this builds, because with the wood finally freed and the vine in place, the whole dynamic shifted. Now the rest of the community could actually use their strengths again. Very soon, the animals repaired the bridge together. Mochi didn't have to rebuild the entire bridge solo. He just had to be the catalyst. His brave move unlocked the bottleneck so the village's collective strength could finish the job. It's seriously a perfect illustration of how diverse traits can complement each other.
Section 4. The big takeaway.
Flash forward to that evening, and the village has completely transformed. They're throwing this massive celebration, feasting on those sweet berries they can finally get to. There's music playing, and right at the center of the party is a completely different rabbit. Mochi smiled proudly. All that internalized shame about being too small, gone, completely vanished. It's replaced by this deeply earned sense of self-worth. And that brings us to the profound lesson here. Mochi learned something incredibly important that day. Being small didn't make him weak. Talk about a massive shift in perspective, right? He realized his physical size literally had nothing to do with his capacity for courage. That negative, limiting narrative he'd been feeding himself, completely false. So the crucial point is this. Sometimes the smallest one can solve the biggest problem. What the whole village and Mochi himself saw as a huge disadvantage was actually a highly specialized strength
just waiting for the exact right problem to show up. Those narrow rocks weren't a barrier to Mochi at all. They were an environment where only he could thrive.
Which brings us right back to you, the viewer. Think about the challenges you're facing right now. What perceived weakness do you have that might actually be the exact tool needed to solve a big problem? Are you looking at your own traits through the wrong lens, just like Mochi did? It's a powerful thought to leave you with today. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. I absolutely encourage you to go look for those hidden strengths in your own life. Catch you next time.